The Galactic Council's central chamber was a spectacle of grandeur, filled with intricate banners, technological wonders, and the finest materials from across the galaxy. Seated in concentric rings, representatives from each of the galaxy's most powerful empires eyed each other with barely concealed disdain. Politics were delicate, alliances fragile. But today, the delegates were united in one sentiment: laughter at humanity's expense. Earth, to them, was a mere curiosity, a planet rich in natural resources, but too primitive to be taken seriously. In an age where technology could manipulate energy, shield entire planets, and cross solar systems in minutes, Earth was viewed as a backwater, having only recently achieved interstellar flight. They were young, untested, and in the eyes of the Council, thoroughly unimpressive. Supreme Commander Raxa, the undisputed military leader of the Thraxian Empire, was the first to voice what many were thinking. "We waste time with debates on resource sharing," he sneered, his jagged teeth glinting in the chamber's blue light. "Why not demonstrate our strength by conquering these humans and claiming their world as a prize? Their so-called warriors are nothing more than blustering children with sticks." The council burst into approving roars, a cacophony of various languages merging in shared scorn. Yet in the shadowed corner, Ambassador Alara of the Raxian Confederation watched, silent. Her species, the Raxians, were known for their empathy and were careful observers. Alara, in particular, had studied Earth extensively and had seen a different side of humanity. They were, in many ways, young and technologically inferior, but she had witnessed their strength, their creativity, and their resilience. "Humanity may surprise you," she said quietly, but her voice was lost amid the council's laughter. Finally, an agreement was reached. Earth would be tested by a single elite warrior. The Supreme Commander's choice fell on General Turok of the Zirak, a warrior known across galaxies for his ruthlessness, cunning, and unmatched battle record. The challenge reached Earth within days, stirring a storm of emotion. The leaders of Earth's various nations met and, after heated discussions, agreed on one response. They would send a single representative to face the alien warrior. Volunteers surged from every branch of the armed forces, but after careful consideration, the Council chose Staff Sergeant Jacob Bull O'Connor of the United States Marine Corps. Known for his battle-hardened discipline and ability to thrive under pressure, O'Connor had spent years leading special operations missions, each one more perilous than the last. His nickname, Bull, was a testament to his resilience and his unbreakable spirit. O'Connor was briefed in a high-security facility surrounded by top brass from around the world. They laid out every known detail of the Zirak species, though most of it was guesswork. What they knew for certain was that he would face Turok on the barren moon of Arathis Nuts under the watchful eye of the Galactic Council. This was no mere battle. It was a diplomatic trial by combat, Earth's honor on the line. "You're fighting for all of us, Bull," General Strauss said, meeting O'Connor's gaze with steel-hard eyes. "Show them what Earth's warriors are made of." As O'Connor donned his modified armor, the weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders. This wasn't just about proving Earth's strength, it was about survival. He knew that, to the Council, Earth was a game, a piece to be won or discarded. He would show them that humanity was not something to be underestimated. Arathis Eintang was a desolate place, barren and pockmarked with craters, an unforgiving landscape that only emphasized the cold vastness of space. As O'Connor stepped onto the dusty ground, he took a deep breath, feeling the chilly, thin atmosphere through his visor. He checked his gear, an advanced railgun, Earth's latest weaponry adapted for interstellar combat, and a reinforced tactical suit designed to withstand high-energy impacts. His nerves were steeled, his mind focused. Across the field, General Turok appeared, a massive, hulking figure whose 4 arms were sheathed in armor that shimmered with energy shields. He was twice O'Connor's size, with muscular limbs and dark, scarred skin that seemed to absorb the dim light of the moon. The air crackled with tension as Turok sized up his opponent, a sneer twisting his lips. "So, you're the champion they sent?" Turok's voice was low and guttural, echoing through the air. "A mere human. I almost pity you," O'Connor replied with a smirk. "Let's see if you're still laughing in a few minutes." The Council's signal rang out, and in an instant, Turok surged forward, his movements faster than O'Connor anticipated. The Xerox warrior closed the distance between them with a speed that defied his bulk, and O'Connor barely had time to sidestep before Turok's fist crashed down, leaving a crater in the ground where he had stood. O'Connor countered, swinging his railgun into position and firing a shot that hit Turok square in the chest, causing him to stagger. The crowd gasped in shock. Earth's weaponry, though primitive in comparison to many galactic standards, had an unexpected effect on Turok's shield, briefly destabilizing it. A grin spread across O'Connor's face as he realized he might have a chance. As the fight wore on, it became a grueling test of endurance and strategy. Turok's 4 arms allowed him a brutal flurry of strikes from multiple angles, forcing O'Connor to stay on the defensive, dodging and weaving as he searched for openings. The audience, watching from floating observation platforms and screens, was captivated. They had expected a quick, humiliating defeat for the human, yet he held his ground, adapting with every swing of Turok's massive fists. But as time passed, O'Connor began to tire. Every muscle ached, and his breathing became ragged as he dodged another powerful blow that sent a cloud of dust and debris into the air. Turok, noticing the human's fatigue, smiled and taunted him. "Is that all you have, Earthling? Your strength is fading." O'Connor didn't respond. He was already calculating his next move, planning 3 steps ahead, using his instincts and training to keep him alive. Every Marine knew that, in battle, willpower could outweigh brute strength. Summoning his last reserves of energy, he pivoted and threw a smoke grenade, shrouding them in a thick haze. Taking advantage of the limited visibility, O'Connor moved silently, shifting around Turok's defenses. As he circled, he fired his railgun at the Xerox's legs, aiming to destabilize him. One shot hit, and Turok stumbled, giving O'Connor the opening he needed. Without hesitation, he closed the gap, slamming the butt of his railgun into Turok's face with a force that fractured the alien's helmet. A collective gasp echoed across the galactic audience. Furious and humiliated, Turok abandoned all pretense of honor. Activating his energy lance, a weapon that crackled with volatile energy, he lunged at O'Connor, who narrowly avoided the deadly strike. The Marine's mind raced. He knew that direct combat was no longer an option. Turok was too powerful in close quarters. He had to fight smarter, using every trick he had. O'Connor fired his railgun again, aiming at a weak point in Turok's armor. Sparks flew as the alien roared, his defenses faltering. In that moment of vulnerability, O'Connor saw his chance. With a burst of speed, he grabbed Turok's energy lance, twisting it out of the alien's grip and embedding it into his opponent's chest. Turok collapsed, his body going limp as the energy coursed through him. Silence fell over the crowd, a stunned realization settling over the galactic leaders. Earth's warrior had won. But the triumph was short-lived. The silence following O'Connor's victory was deafening. Shock had rippled through the Galactic Council. Leaders who had anticipated the humans' demise now faced the sobering realization that Earth's warriors were far more formidable than they had anticipated. A murmur of unrest began to grow within the ranks as council members muttered to each other in disbelief and discontent. Supreme Commander Raxa's face twisted in rage, his pride wounded and his authority undermined. For an alien warrior of his standing, public humiliation at the hands of a species he deemed inferior was unthinkable. He knew he had to act swiftly, or the Council's confidence in him might falter, and with it, his grip on power. "We cannot let this stand," Raxa declared, his voice booming through the chamber, demanding attention. This human's victory was achieved through dishonorable means. They exploited tricks and primitive weaponry to destabilize our champion. Such deception cannot be allowed to tarnish the honor of this council. Ambassador Ilara stepped forward, her calm, empathetic voice a stark contrast to Raxa's fury. "Supreme Commander, the human fought with skill and valor," she argued. "They proved resilience and strategy against insurmountable odds. Perhaps instead of retaliation, we should consider diplomacy and coexistence." But her voice was drowned out by the shouts of other council members, stirred by Raxa's rhetoric. The idea of Earth, a young, primitive planet, standing as an equal in the galactic community was unacceptable to many of them. For years, they had conquered and dominated without resistance. Earth's success was an affront to their superiority. Raxa seized the moment. "They think themselves our equals," he sneered. "Then let them face our might. A full mobilization against Earth will be swift. They will either kneel or perish. The council erupted in applause, delegates pounding their fists in agreement. The order was given, and within hours, a galactic fleet, a coalition of the council's most powerful empires, was mobilizing, weapons primed and engines roaring as they prepared to invade and subjugate Earth. On Earth, O'Connor's victory had been met with both celebration and solemn resolve. He knew that besting General Turok was only the beginning. He'd seen the look in the Supreme Commander's eyes, and he'd recognized the contempt and fury boiling within the council members. The council's pride was at stake, and he had no doubt they would seek revenge. As the preparations for retaliation began, Earth's nations, usually divided, banded together in an unprecedented alliance. O'Connor and his team of elite military strategists were already huddled around a digital map, reviewing satellite images of the incoming fleet's trajectory. They knew the Council's forces outgunned them by every conceivable metric. They had faster ships, superior weaponry, and larger numbers. But they also knew Earth had one thing the Council couldn't anticipate: a willingness to fight for survival, no matter the odds. "Let's make them fight for every inch," O'Connor growled, pointing at key entry points in Earth's atmosphere. "If they want Earth, they'll pay for it in blood and fire." The plan was simple, but brutal. Earth's defenses would rely on guerrilla tactics, exploiting the planetary terrain and atmosphere to their advantage. Each country coordinated with the others, aligning their resources and pooling their intelligence. The world's most brilliant minds were drafted into the fight, developing countermeasures and innovative strategies that pushed the limits of Earth's current technology. O'Connor was given command of the coalition's first defense line, which would meet the initial wave of the Galactic fleet. His squadron would use orbital stations and Earth's lunar bases as staging grounds, launching surprise strikes and disrupting the invaders' formation. Armed with experimental EMP missiles and advanced railguns, O'Connor's team would aim to disable and divide the incoming fleet before they could penetrate Earth's atmosphere. As the fleet neared, O'Connor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Resolute, a state-of-the-art warship newly equipped with Earth's finest defenses. His crew awaited his orders, a mixture of seasoned veterans and young soldiers, each one bearing the weight of Earth's fate on their shoulders. "Prepare for contact," he ordered. "Remember, we're fighting for every soul on this planet. Failure is not an option." The enemy fleet arrived in a blinding flash, emerging from hyperspace like a storm of darkness. The Galactic Council's ships glinted menacingly, sleek and massive, bristling with weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Their lead battleship, the Emperor's Wrath, dwarfed the Resolute, its silhouette casting an ominous shadow over Earth's defenders. "Here they come," O'Connor murmured, his jaw set. "Let's show them what Earth's warriors can do." The battle was fierce, a symphony of destruction. The Resolute weaved through the Council's larger ships, launching EMP missiles that detonated in blinding flashes, scrambling the Council's ships' navigation systems and causing several vessels to collide in confusion. Smaller Earth ships darted in and out of the chaos, striking hard and fast like hornets defending their nest. On the ground, Earth's forces had established fortified outposts and weaponized the terrain. Forests were seeded with traps, mountains outfitted with artillery emplacements, and cities shielded by electromagnetic barriers that distorted the Council's targeting systems. Civilians had been evacuated to bunkers deep below the Earth, freeing the surface for a no-holds-barred defense. Yet the Council's fleet was relentless. Their advanced drones slipped through Earth's defenses, unleashing swarms of energy beams that scorched the landscape. Towers of smoke rose from Earth's defenses as explosions lit up the night, painting the sky with streaks of red and orange. O'Connor fought tirelessly, rallying his troops with every skirmish. For days, he and his team repelled the Council's forces, though each victory came with heavy casualties. He watched as his friends and comrades fell, one by one, sacrificing themselves to protect Earth. The Galactic Council underestimated the resolve of humanity. With every passing hour, Earth's forces adapted, countering the Council's technology with creativity and sheer audacity. Guerrilla tactics took a heavy toll on the invaders. Human soldiers, undeterred by the Council's alien weaponry, ambushed enemy troops in narrow alleyways and mountain passes, turning Earth's familiar landscapes into deadly traps. Despite their courage, Earth's defenders were exhausted, and supplies were running low. The Council's fleet pressed harder, breaching one defense line after another, advancing toward Earth's largest cities. O'Connor, now battered and bruised, gathered his remaining troops for a last-ditch effort. They would hold their ground at Earth's final stronghold, a sprawling underground base beneath the Rocky Mountains. This bastion was humanity's last hope, its walls lined with experimental weaponry, and its corridors filled with the remaining elite forces from every corner of the globe. As the Council's ships descended, casting ominous shadows over the Rockies, O'Connor addressed his troops. His voice, though weary, carried a fierce determination. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not defeated. We will hold this ground. We will show them that Earth does not fall easily. Fight not just for yourselves, but for every person, every dream, and every memory we hold dear. Let's make them remember the day they tried to conquer Earth." The Council's forces landed in waves, their troops pouring out in precision formations. Earth's defenders met them with a relentless barrage of fire, the underground base shaking with the force of each exchange. The battle raged, echoing through the corridors, the walls splattered with scars of combat. Just as it seemed the Council's forces would overwhelm them, a broadcast echoed across both sides. Ambassador Ilara, speaking from the Galactic Council chamber, was calling for a ceasefire. Her voice, calm yet firm, spoke of humanity's courage, of the resilience and unity Earth's defenders had shown. She urged the Council to reconsider its actions, warning them that continuing this fight would not only destroy Earth, but fracture the Galactic Council's integrity forever. Supreme Commander Raxa scoffed, refusing to back down. But he hadn't anticipated what would come next. Across the galaxy, other species, those long subjugated or oppressed by the Council, began to rise in solidarity with Earth. Inspired by humanity's defiance, rebel groups and independent worlds declared their support, staging protests, sabotaging Council operations, and even joining Earth's fight remotely by providing intelligence and resources. Under mounting pressure, the Council's unity began to fracture. Some Council members, previously silent, sided with Ambassador Ilara, fearing the galaxy-wide consequences of Raxa's unyielding aggression. One by one, their ships retreated, pulling back from Earth. In the final hours of the battle, Raxa found himself isolated, his fleet weakened, and morale shattered. As the Council's ships withdrew, O'Connor seized the opportunity, leading a final assault that forced Raxa's remaining forces to surrender. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth stood victorious, scarred but unbroken. O'Connor, hailed as a hero, was celebrated not just on Earth but across countless worlds inspired by humanity's courage. The Galactic Council, humbled, extended an offer of peace to Earth, and humanity was invited to join as an equal member, earning a place among the stars. The battle for Earth had become a symbol of defiance and hope, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. And for O'Connor, it was a reminder of what it meant to protect one's home, a duty he would carry with him as humanity stepped boldly into a new era, not as conquerors but as survivors and defenders of their own destiny.